The blue velvet pouch was already in my hand when Daniel pushed through the door of Belle Wren with Sloane behind him, and his mother close enough to step on her heels. "That's Sloane's necklace," he said. "Then why did you charge the repair to my account?" My phone still showed the text that had sent me racing across town. "Repair ready. Pickup code 6149. I had the code. I had reached the counter first. Judith looked at the pouch and then at me. "It suits her better, Mara. There's no reason to make this ugly." I opened the pouch. The green tourmaline lay against the velvet, newly polished, its repaired clasp tucked beneath it. On the back of the setting was a tiny glass house, one chimney leaning slightly left because it had been engraved by hand. The necklace had been missing since Daniel moved out. I looked past Judith to my ex-husband. How did this get out of my locked bedroom? Daniel's face did something small, not shock, not confusion. It was the look he used when a restaurant brought the wrong side dish, and he was deciding whether correcting it would be worth the trouble. Behind the counter, Ruth Wren cleared her throat. She had known us long enough to remember Daniel buying my engagement ring and short enough to still be interested in remaining in business. Ms. Ellison provided identification and an appraisal matching the item, she said. The repair was submitted under her account. "Because it was our account," Daniel said. "It hasn't been our account since October. That's obviously an administrative mistake. It took you 6 months to make it." Sloane moved beside him, one hand resting at her bare collarbone. She wore a cream coat that looked soft enough to apologize for her. I had seen that coat once before, draped over the back of a chair in a photograph Daniel swore had been taken after we separated. She stared at the necklace. "You said your mom gave it to you." Judith's chin lifted. "It belonged to Daniel's grandmother." "It belonged to me," I said. "Evelyn intended it to stay in the family." "Evelyn handed it to me. At a Thanksgiving you were hosting as Daniel's wife." There it was. Judith had always treated kindness like a job title. Once the position ended, she expected the uniform back. I turned the pendant over between my fingers. Daniel's grandmother had worn it for years before she gave it to me. The engraving was almost smooth at the roofline. I remembered Evelyn sitting at my dining table after everyone else had left, her shoes off under the chair, telling me the glass house was supposed to mean that home was fragile but visible. You could tell who was inside it. You could tell who was throwing stones. At the time, I'd thought that sounded elegant. Now it sounded like a warning she had delivered 14 years too early. Daniel stepped closer to the counter. "Can we talk outside?" "No." "Mara." Ruth adjusted a tray of watch bands that did not need adjusting. Daniel lowered his voice. "You have the necklace. You've made your point." I asked how it left my bedroom. Judith answered for him. "I took it." Sloane turned to her. "You told me it had been in your jewelry box." It was, briefly. "How did you get into my house?" I asked. Judith's eyes flicked toward Daniel. That was the moment the room changed. Until then, I could have made Judith the whole villain. Judith, with her lacquered hair and talent for turning trespassing into tradition. Judith, who once rearranged my kitchen while I was away and then acted wounded when I put the coffee mugs back. Judith, who believed every boundary was a temporary inconvenience caused by someone else's mood. But she had looked at Daniel because Judith never stole a key. She asked her son for one. He put both hands in his coat pockets. It was still my house then. You had moved out. My name was still on things, not the deed. Mara, stop talking like we're in court. Then stop making me wish we were. A customer near the watch case abruptly became fascinated by cufflinks. Sloane's face had gone pale in a precise, expensive way. "Did you know it was hers?" Daniel turned to her. "It was a family necklace." "That isn't what I asked." Judith exhaled. "Sloane, please don't let her turn a misunderstanding into theater." I almost laughed. Judith had entered wearing a camel cape and enough perfume to announce her from the parking lot, but I was apparently the theatrical one. Ruth slid a printed receipt toward me. The clasp and hinge repair came to $486.20. The card ending in 0341 was charged yesterday. My card? I said. Daniel glanced at the receipt. I thought the card had been updated. To whose? He didn't answer. I looked at the signature on the intake line. Daniel Ellison, written in the broad, forward-leaning hand I had watched fill out tax forms, sympathy cards, and the note he left on our kitchen island the morning he said he needed space. Under customer name, he had written Mara Ellison. Under item owner, he had written Sloan Reeves. It took confidence to put both lies on the same piece of paper. I'm disputing the charge, I told Ruth. She nodded. I understand. Daniel's jaw tightened. I'll reimburse you. You had the money yesterday. I said I'll handle it. You already handled it. That's why we're all here. Judith put a hand on Sloane's sleeve. Sloane pulled away, not dramatically, just enough that Judith's hand closed on air. What did he tell you? I asked her. Sloane looked at Daniel before answering. That Judith gave him the necklace to give me. When? For the dinner at Lagrange. That dinner had happened 3 weeks before Daniel asked for the divorce. He had sat across from me the following morning and said he was going to help his mother clean out her storage unit. I remembered because he came home smelling like Judith's perfume and red wine. He'd kissed the top of my head while I was comparing catering bids for his parents' anniversary party. My fingers closed around the velvet pouch. Daniel saw the change in my face. Don't do that. Do what? Start building a timeline out of every innocent thing. Sloane looked at him. The dinner wasn't innocent. I wasn't talking to you. The words landed harder on her than he meant them to. I knew because they had once landed that way on me. Judith moved in quickly. This is getting us nowhere. Mara has always been sentimental about objects. Fine, she can take a few days, calm down, and then we'll arrange for the necklace to be returned. To whom? I asked. Sloane. Ruth stopped adjusting the watch bands. I placed the pendant back in its pouch and folded the flap over it. No. Judith's expression barely changed, but I had known her long enough to see the offense settle in. She did not mind being denied if the denial came wrapped in apology and an alternate plan. A clean no struck her as vulgar. Mara, she said, you left this family. I left Daniel. You can split that hair if it comforts you. Daniel rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Mom, I'm trying to resolve this. No, Sloane said. You're trying to make her give it back to me while standing in front of a receipt proving you charged her for fixing it. Judith looked at her as if a lamp had offered an opinion. Sloane buttoned her coat. I need some air. I'll come with you, Daniel said. No. She walked out. The bell over the door gave one cheerful little ring. Daniel watched her through the window, then turned on me with a look I recognized. This problem was now mine because I had said the inconvenient part aloud. You could have called me, he said. The jeweler called me. Apparently you asked them to. I didn't ask them to text you. That account has my phone number. I didn't know that. You used my name, because Ruth knows us. Ruth's mouth tightened. Judith stepped between us, although no one was moving. Daniel, go speak to Sloane. I'll handle this. That was Judith's favorite promise and Daniel's favorite permission slip. He looked at me. Don't leave until we talk. I slipped the pouch into my purse. You don't have a key to this door. He stared at me for half a second. Then he followed Sloane outside. Judith waited until he was gone before softening her voice. I know this looks bad. It looks accurate. Daniel is under enormous strain. He's dating a woman who owns a cream coat. He'll live. A reluctant smile twitched at the corner of Ruth's mouth. Judith noticed. This is private, Judith told her. Ruth laid both palms on the counter. It became business when someone misrepresented authorization on a customer account. I'm sure Daniel misunderstood. I asked whether he was authorized. He said yes. Judith turned to me. There. He made a mistake. He lied. He believed the account was still shared. He wrote my name because he knew it wasn't. Judith looked toward the front window. Daniel stood on the sidewalk talking to Sloane. She had her arms folded. He was doing the head tilt that once made me feel as if I were the only reasonable person he had met all day. "He's trying to build a new life," Judith said, "with my necklace and my credit card. You took the house." "I owned the house before I married him." "You kept most of the furniture." "I bought most of the furniture." "Marriage is not supposed to be itemized. Apparently divorce is." Her nostrils flared. For 1 second, I saw the woman underneath the polish, the one who was afraid every ending was an audit, and every audit would prove she had taken too much. Then the surface returned. "Evelyn would be heartbroken to see you clutching that necklace out of spite." I felt the old reflex rise. Explain. Reassure. Find a sentence that would preserve Judith's dignity while asking her to stop dismantling mine. Ruth saved me from it. "Mrs. Ellison," she said, "did Evelyn give the necklace to Mara?" Judith looked at her. "Yes or no?" She placed it around Mara's neck. "Did she ask for it back?" "She died 9 months later." "That sounds like no." Judith picked up her purse. "I don't need a lecture from a shopkeeper." "No," Ruth said. "You need your own jeweler." Judith left without waiting for the bell. For a moment, Ruth and I stood in the quiet she had cleared behind her. Then Ruth blew out a breath. "I've wanted to say that for 11 years. I laughed once, which came out too close to a sob. She pushed a box of tissues across the counter. "Those are terrible. They're mostly for cleaning fingerprints off silver." "I'm fine." "Of course." I took one anyway. Ruth printed the account history while I froze future charges. Daniel had not used it since we separated. That should have comforted me. Instead, it showed how deliberate this one use had been. He had not accidentally grabbed the wrong card from an online wallet. He had walked into a store where we had bought anniversary gifts, invoked my name, and signed beneath it. The intake notes included the original condition of the necklace: bent hinge, broken clasp, surface scratches on rear setting. "Did he say how it broke?" I asked. Ruth read from her screen. "Damage occurred during removal." The bedroom came back in pieces. My jewelry box sat in the top drawer of the walnut dresser. I had locked the bedroom during the separation because Daniel kept arriving when I was at work to collect one shirt, one charger, one important document he had somehow forgotten. The dresser showed no damage. Neither did the bedroom lock. Someone had opened the door normally. "Can you email all of this to me?" Already did. Outside, Daniel's car was gone. Judith's silver SUV remained, but she was nowhere in sight. Maybe Sloane had left with the car and Judith was calling a ride. Maybe they were holding a family council in the alley. For once, I did not stay to find out. I drove home with my purse buckled into the passenger seat. At a red light, Daniel called. I let it ring. Then Judith called. Then Daniel again. A text appeared when I pulled into my driveway. "You embarrassed Sloane. She didn't know." I sat behind the wheel and read it twice. He had not written, "I'm sorry." He had not written, "Mom shouldn't have gone into the house." He had not even written, "I shouldn't have lied." I had embarrassed Sloane by finding my own necklace too soon. The grocery bag of Daniel's mail still sat on the kitchen floor where I had dropped it after the pickup text arrived. A wine club envelope leaned against a notice from the county. On the counter, the anniversary binder was open to Judith's latest seating chart, which had been revised so many times the paper around Frank's name had gone soft. I put the blue pouch beside it. Then I walked to the small ceramic dish near the back door. House key, garage remote, studio key with the yellow rubber cap. The brass spare with the green glass bead was gone. I had kept it there for years. Daniel knew that. Judith knew it too because she had once teased me for putting keys in a dish shaped like a bird's nest when keys belonged on hooks. My phone rang again. This time I answered. Daniel did not say hello. "Mom says you're accusing her of breaking into the house." "Did you give her my spare key?" A pause. "She needed to pick up some family things. You gave her my key. It was one afternoon." "What did she take?" "The necklace, obviously." "What else?" For God's sake, Mara. What else? I don't know, serving pieces, a tablecloth, things that belong to my parents. From behind my locked bedroom door? She said some boxes got moved in there. There were no family boxes in my bedroom. Daniel knew it. I could hear him choosing not to know it now. When did you give her the key? I don't remember. Before or after Lagrange? Silence settled between us. Behind me, the furnace clicked on. Air moved through the vents with the low household sigh I had spent years mistaking for peace. Daniel spoke carefully. Don't turn one necklace into a war. I looked at Judith's anniversary binder, at his mail, at the empty space in the key dish. I'm not the one who brought a key, I said. You know what I mean, Daniel said. I know what you want me to mean. Mara, the key was for my mother. She wasn't some stranger off the street. That's supposed to make it better? She returned it. Where? I assume she gave it back to me. You assume. I don't keep an inventory of keys. I do. He made the impatient sound that used to end our arguments. Not because the argument was over, but because continuing meant I was unreasonable. What do you want? He asked. A list of everything she took. I can't give you that tonight. Then tomorrow. And then what? You send me another spreadsheet? I was thinking photographs. You're enjoying this. That hurt enough to make me quiet. Daniel knew it had landed. His voice softened in the old, practiced way. Look, I understand why you're upset. Mom shouldn't have taken the necklace without speaking to you. You gave her the key. I'm trying to meet you halfway. You're standing on my side of the line and calling it halfway. He sighed. Can we deal with this after the anniversary party? My father is looking forward to it. You know how much it means to him. The binder sat open beneath my hand. Judith had written, Celebration of Enduring Love across the title page in gold marker. I'll send you the vendor information, I said. For what? So you can finish planning it. A beat passed. Mara, come on. I'm serious. You can't just drop a 70-person event. I can transfer it. To who? You or Judith. We don't know these vendors. Neither did I until I called them. This is your field. It's also my work. We've already paid you. I looked at the blue pouch on the counter. No, I said. You haven't. That's not what I meant. I know. The kitchen went very still after I ended the call. I turned the burner on under the kettle, then turned it off before the water heated. I checked the back door twice. The lock worked, but the key that opened it was somewhere outside the house, attached to a green glass bead I had bought at an art fair because it looked like a drop of seawater. At 10 the next morning, a locksmith named Luis spread the contents of his canvas bag across my kitchen table. Pretty keychain, he said when I showed him a picture of the missing spare. My former mother-in-law has it. He nodded with the solemn understanding of a man whose profession probably depended on former relatives. Front, back, garage entry, and the studio door. Same key? Unfortunately. He examined the back lock. I can rekey the house today. Studio needs a commercial cylinder tomorrow morning. How many copies? As many as you want. 2. He glanced at me. 1 for me, I said, and 1 for the person I become after losing the first. That person sounds responsible. She's tired. While he worked, I opened every account that still carried Daniel's name, email, address, or habits. The wine club charged my card on the 15th of each month. Daniel had founded his interest in small production reds 2 weeks after a client called him unsophisticated. He drank Pinot Noir for 10 years out of spite. I canceled it. The car wash membership was mine, but his SUV still had a family tag. I removed it. A cloud storage plan I thought I used only for event photographs had been backing up Daniel's golf videos. Removed. The Bell Wren account showed no authorized users, which meant Daniel had not slipped through a forgotten setting. He had slipped through familiarity. He knew Ruth. He knew which questions to answer warmly. He knew that saying my name with confidence could still open something. By noon, the new front key stuck slightly, unless I lifted it as I turned. "Fresh pins," Luis said. "It'll loosen." "I don't want it too loose." He looked at me, decided I was not talking about the lock, and handed over 2 clean silver keys without comment. The florist called while I was signing his invoice. "Quick question on Judith and Frank's arrangements," Tessa said. "Are we changing the foyer pieces to gardenias?" "I'm not." A pause. "Judith said you approved them." "When?" "This morning." "Did she call you?" "She emailed from the thread you started. I went to my laptop." Judith had replied beneath my original message, copying the florist, caterer, rental company, and conservatory coordinator. "Mara and I reviewed the design and agree the entrance needs more presence. Please revise to gardenias and add 6 table arrangements. Keep all billing as previously arranged." There was no greeting. Judith treated greetings as wasted motion when ordering something. "Tessa, don't change anything," I said. "I'm stepping away from the event. No new charges under my name without written approval directly from me." "You're stepping away?" "I'm transferring the planning." "To Judith?" "That's the working theory." Tessa was quiet. She had met Judith twice. "Should I put everything on hold?" "Please." "Gladly." I spent the next 3 hours building the kind of transition packet I would have charged a corporate client $1,200 to create. Vendor names, deposit totals, cancellation dates, menu selections, linen counts, a floor plan showing where Judith wanted the quartet, even though the conservatory manager had explained that the electrical outlet in that corner did not work. I deleted my private notes before sending it. "Judith will hate this shade of white" was not operationally necessary. The anniversary contract was the only piece I couldn't cleanly hand off. My signature was on it, so was my card. The balance was due in 11 days. I emailed Claire, the conservatory coordinator, asking for the assumption form she had mentioned when I booked. Then I copied Daniel and Judith on a message stating that I would no longer coordinate, subsidize, or accept charges for the event. They could assume the contract, reduce the scope, or cancel it. Daniel called within 40 seconds. I let it ring. Judith responded by email. "Your decision is disappointing, especially given Frank's affection for you. We will discuss when emotions are less elevated." I replied with the 2 available pickup windows for the serving pieces and other belongings in my garage. Her next response came directly to me. "You know perfectly well those items have nothing to do with Daniel's behavior." I typed 3 different answers and deleted them all. Then I wrote, "Please select Saturday between 10 and noon or Monday between 5 and 7. At 4, Daniel appeared on my front porch with the grocery bag of mail tucked under one arm. I had placed it outside 10 minutes earlier after he texted that he was coming. He knocked anyway. I watched him through the narrow window beside the door. He lifted the grocery bag as if it proved he had been invited. I opened the door but left the chain fastened. His eyebrows went up. "Really? You have your mail. You put it in a bag that had onions in it." They were sweet onions. "Mara." "What? Can I come in?" "No." His gaze dropped to the new lock. He'd always noticed hardware, hinges, handles, drawer slides. He could spend half an hour discussing a cabinet pull while somehow failing to see the cabinet was full of my things. "You changed it already." "Yes." "Did Mom refuse to return the key? She hasn't selected a pickup window." "That's not what I asked. It's the answer I have." He set the mail down and rubbed his hands together against the cold. He looked tired, not movie star tired with meaningful shadows under his eyes, regular tired. His hair needed a cut, and there was a faint streak of something on his coat sleeve. For years, that combination would have made me open the door. "You can't cancel the party," he said. "I'm not canceling it, I'm giving it to you. I work 60 hours a week. I know, I used to plan your dentist appointments around them. I'm asking for 6 more weeks. 11 days. That's when the balance is due. I mean 6 weeks until the party." "I know what you meant." He looked past me toward the kitchen. From the porch, he could probably see the corner of the binder. "My dad asks about you," he said. "Then he can call me. He doesn't understand what's going on." Neither does Sloan, apparently. His mouth hardened. "Leave her out of this." "She was standing in a jewelry store asking whether you knew the necklace was mine. She's upset. So am I. You know what I mean." Again. As if Sloane's feelings came in a language that counted and mine were a background noise he should not have to translate. I leaned my shoulder against the doorframe. "Did you tell her about Lagrange before or after you told me we needed space?" His eyes moved to the driveway. "That period was complicated. It was a Thursday. You want dates because they make you feel in control. I want dates because you keep changing the nouns. An affair becomes a complicated period. A stolen necklace becomes a family piece. My credit card becomes an administrative mistake. I didn't come here to fight. No, you came here to get me to plan your mother's party. I came here because she's panicking." The honesty surprised both of us. Daniel looked down at the grocery bag. "She doesn't know what to do," he said. "The caterer asked her about service timing, and she thought they meant what time dinner starts. Service timing is what time dinner starts. She thought it was something else." "Of course she did." His mouth almost smiled. The same stupid, reluctant smile had pulled us out of arguments for years. We would recognize the absurdity of Judith together, and that recognition would become a bridge over whatever he had refused to address. I felt my own smile start and killed it. He saw. "Mara, you're good at this," he said. "You actually like it." "I like being paid for it. It's family." "Whose?" He shifted his weight. "You were part of this before Sloane. That was supposed to be generous." "Before Sloane," I repeated. "You know what I'm saying?" "Yes, I'm beginning to." He looked genuinely confused by that. I unhooked the chain just long enough to slide a large envelope through the gap. The transition packet was inside. "Everything is labeled," I said. "Passwords have been removed. Vendor terms are highlighted. The payment deadlines are on the first page." He took it without looking down. "And the necklace?" "What about it?" "Mom thinks you'll cool off. Your mother should dress for the weather. It means a lot to her. It meant a lot to Evelyn. She was Mom's mother-in-law. She was the person who gave it to me. She expected you to stay married." I looked at him. Daniel flinched, but he did not take it back. There it was again, belonging as a contract only I had breached. His affair could be described, softened, rescheduled. My leaving had apparently traveled backward in time and canceled every gift, meal, promise, and place at the table. "You should go," I said. "I didn't mean it like that." "I know exactly how you meant it." He put his hand against the door before I could close it. Not forcefully. Daniel rarely did anything forcefully. Pressure worked better when it could pretend to be touch. "If you walk away from the party, you'll lose the deposit." "I'm checking the transfer terms. Mom isn't signing anything with your name on it. Then she can cancel." "You paid $4,800. I paid it before I knew I was also covering jewelry repairs." His fingers curled against the edge of the door. "This isn't you." "What isn't?" "Keeping score, locking doors, making everything transactional." I wanted to ask which version of me he thought he had married. The woman who forgot charges. The woman who kept doors open after people used the keys against her. The woman who spent enough money and effort that everyone else could remain above transactions. Instead, I said, "Monday between 5 and 7 is still available for the garage." He stepped back. "Fine. Let me know who's coming. I'll have the boxes ready." He picked up the grocery bag and walked to his car with the transition packet under his arm. I locked the door before he reached the driveway. A few minutes later, my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. "This is Sloane. I got your number from the Bell Wren receipt. I need to ask you something about the necklace." I stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then Claire from the conservatory emailed. "I'm sorry you're dealing with a change. The contract can be assumed by another party only with their signature and replacement of the full deposit. If no one assumes it, cancellation at this stage forfeits your deposit. Your card remains responsible for contracted balances until written cancellation is received." A second email arrived from Daniel before I finished reading the first. Mom will take over the party, but there will need to be conditions. We should discuss the necklace and payment coverage together. The empty place in the key dish caught the late afternoon light. I turned my new silver key once in the lock, lifted slightly when it stuck, and heard the pins settle. I texted Sloan one word: ask. The typing dots appeared, vanished, and appeared again. Did you ever tell Judith she could have the necklace? No. Did you ever tell Daniel? No. She called before I could add anything else. I'm sorry, she said when I answered. I know calling you is inappropriate. That particular ship has some mileage on it. I deserve that. I wasn't trying to be funny. I know. In the silence, I could hear traffic behind her and the faint electronic chirp of a crosswalk signal. What did Daniel tell you? I asked. That you left the necklace behind. That there was an argument during the divorce and you told him his mother could keep the family jewelry. Jewelry, plural? He said there were several pieces. There was one necklace. It was in my dresser. He showed me a text. My stomach tightened. What text? I don't have it. It was on his phone. You said something like, your mother can keep every family trinket if it gets her out of my house. I closed my eyes. I remembered the argument. Judith had come over during the separation and spent 2 hours putting yellow stickers on objects she believed belonged to Daniel's family. A silver bowl, 2 candlesticks, a ceramic turkey so ugly that I would have paid her to remove it. She had placed a sticker on the grandfather clock in the hallway. The clock had belonged to my grandfather. I'd texted Daniel from the laundry room while Judith opened cabinets. Get her out of my house. He had told me to let her finish because it made her feel useful. I'd written back, she can keep every family trinket if it gets her out of my house. I had meant the objects Judith was tagging. I had also meant nothing, because furious people sometimes offer the moon when what they want is for someone to stop standing in their kitchen. Daniel had saved the sentence. I sent that, I said. Sloan went quiet. It wasn't about the necklace, I added. The necklace wasn't out. It was in a locked drawer, and Judith had no reason to know where. But you sent it. Yes. Daniel says it proves you gave up the family property. Do you believe him? I believed him when he said the necklace was his. That isn't what I asked. No, she said. I don't know what I believe. It was the most honest thing anyone in Daniel's orbit had said to me all week. I knew he was married when we met, she continued. I'm not going to insult you by pretending I didn't. He said you were living separate lives and waiting until after his parents' anniversary year to make it official. There's an anniversary year? Apparently every year is an anniversary year if his mother needs something. That almost made me laugh. Sloan breathed out. I shouldn't have gone to Lagrange with him. No. I kept telling myself dinner wasn't a line. It was a restaurant. It had walls and a roof. You had to cross several lines to get inside. I know. The crosswalk chirped again. I'm not asking for the necklace, she said. I don't want it. Judith does. Judith wants me to wear it to the party. Of course she did. Judith could forgive almost any private damage if the photographs looked right. Are you going? I asked. I haven't decided. You should decide based on Daniel, not me. That's what I'm trying to do. She ended the call without asking me to forgive her. I respected her more for that than I wanted to. The locksmith changed the studio cylinder the next morning while I tried to work around him. My studio occupied 2 rooms above a flooring warehouse with shelves of fabric samples, rental catalogs, labeled cables, and the collapsible brass easels Judith had borrowed for 3 separate parties, without remembering they were mine. The anniversary had consumed 1 entire work table. Place cards, ribbon samples, revised menus, and a foam board floor plan sat in careful stacks. I packed all of it into 2 file boxes. Daniel emailed at 11. Mom is prepared to assume the contract if you transfer the deposit, continue managing vendor payments through your card, and return the necklace. This is a reasonable solution that protects everyone. I read it aloud to the locksmith. He stopped turning his screwdriver. He wants the lock too? Only if I keep paying for it. Charge extra. I sent Daniel the conservatory's assumption terms. Judith would need to sign the contract and replace my full deposit. No continued access to my card. The necklace was not part of the event. His reply came with the screenshot Sloane had described. Your own words. The message sat on my screen in a bubble from nearly a year earlier. She can keep every family trinket if it gets her out of my house. A second screenshot followed, showing my response when Daniel asked if I was sure. Take all of it. I'm done. I had been referring to the yellow stickered pile by the front door. The screenshots did not show that pile. They showed only a woman surrendering property and a man agreeing to remove it. Daniel called. I'd rather resolve this ourselves, he said. You mean without Ruth's records? I mean without spending money arguing over a necklace. You're already spending my money on it. That charge will be reversed. It hasn't been. I told you I'll reimburse you, and I told you to do it. He paused. Sloane called you. She had questions. You had no right to involve her in our divorce. You brought her necklace in under my name. She isn't equipped for this kind of conflict. I stared at the anniversary boxes. What kind is she equipped for? That's not what I meant. It never was. He lowered his voice. You're trying to destabilize my relationship. You gave your girlfriend stolen jewelry and a false receipt. Disputed jewelry. That's a lovely phrase. Did your mother give it to you? Mara, listen to yourself. I have been. That silenced him. I picked up the blue velvet pouch from my desk. I had brought it to the studio because leaving it in the house felt like inviting another disappearance. If you think that text makes the necklace yours, I said, why did you submit the repair under my name? He didn't answer. Why not write your own name? Why not use your own card? Bell Wren gave us a preferred rate. The discount was $12. It wasn't about $12. I know. I could hear him breathing. I wasn't trying to hurt you, he said. That was Daniel's favorite defense because it required so little of him. Intent sat inside his head where no one could audit it. The rest of us lived with the invoices. You knew I would be hurt, I said. You just thought I wouldn't find out. He hung up. Sloane sent me 3 screenshots that afternoon. The first was from Judith, 2 weeks before the LaGrange dinner. I have something for you. Evelyn's green necklace. It should be worn by a woman who appreciates being part of this family. The second was Daniel asking whether Mara might notice. Judith had answered, Mara notices everything and confronts nothing. There is a difference. The third was from the day they took the necklace to Bell Wren. Use Mara's account. She always pays first and complains later. We can reimburse if she makes an issue of it. Below that, Daniel had sent a thumbs up. I sat at my desk until the words blurred. The betrayal wasn't hidden in some grand declaration. It was in the phrase, if she makes an issue of it. Daniel had calculated my dignity as a possible inconvenience. He had relied on the version of me who paid first, fixed the seating chart, found a more gracious word, and raised concerns only after everyone else was comfortable. Sloane added, I told him I won't claim the necklace. You can use these if you need them. I saved the screenshots in the same folder as Ruth's receipt and the appraisal. Then I typed, thank you. I almost added that I was sorry. I deleted it. Frank called while I was carrying the anniversary boxes to my car. His voice was warm and cautious. Mara, is this a bad time? I have one hand free. I can call later. That doesn't usually improve the hand situation. He chuckled, then became serious again. The florist called me about a credit card. Tessa called you? She wanted to confirm where to send an updated invoice. Judith says there's been a misunderstanding. There are several. I don't want to put you in the middle. I leaned against the car door with the box balanced on my hip. Frank, I am the middle. He was quiet. Did you know the conservatory deposit was on my card? I asked. I thought Daniel paid it. No. What about the caterer? The first installment was mine. The remaining balance hasn't been paid. How much? I told him. The silence stretched. That can't be right, he said. It's in the packet I sent Daniel and Judith. What packet? I closed my eyes. Frank had spent most of his marriage letting Judith handle the social parts of their life. She chose the gifts, remembered the birthdays, sent the cards, and told him what events cost after editing the number into something he could hear without objecting. He was not helpless. He had simply confused peace with a service someone else provided. Ask Judith to show it to you, I said. Mara, what happened with Evelyn's necklace? So she had told him something. What did Judith say? That you took it from Sloane at the jeweler. She took it from my bedroom first. He inhaled slowly. Judith went into your house? Daniel gave her a key. That doesn't sound like him. The sentence pricked me. It sounds exactly like him, I said. You've just never been the locked door. Frank did not argue. I'm sorry, he said after a moment. I adjusted the box against my hip. The party can still happen. Someone needs to assume the contract and replace my deposit. I'll speak to Judith. Speak to Daniel, too. I will. When we hung up, I loaded the boxes into the trunk but did not drive to Judith's house. Delivering them would turn withdrawal into another errand I performed for her. I carried them back upstairs. Claire called from the conservatory near closing time. I've spoken with Daniel and Judith, she said. They're unwilling to replace the deposit. Judith believes a family transfer should not require new funds. It isn't a family transfer. I explained that. What happens if I cancel today? You lose the $4,800. The card comes off the remaining balances once we process written cancellation. And if I wait? The next payment becomes non-refundable on Friday. I looked at my business account. Losing the deposit would delay new lighting equipment I needed and erase most of the profit from 2 spring events. It was enough money to matter and not enough to justify what Daniel wanted in exchange. Send me the cancellation form, I said. Are you sure? No. Claire waited. Send it anyway. The form arrived 10 minutes later. I filled it out, signed it, and left it unsent while I drove home. Judith had selected Monday from 5 to 7 for the garage pickup. Her email said Daniel would accompany her because the boxes were heavy. She did not mention Frank. At home, I lined the family serving pieces along one side of the garage. The silver bowl still carried its yellow sticker. So did the candlesticks and the ceramic turkey. I photographed each item, then added the tablecloths, framed photographs, 2 roasting pans, and the folding card table Judith once accused me of hiding. I found the green glass key bead in a carton marked Holiday Misc. The brass key was not attached to it. Judith had removed the bead before returning the box, as if decoration belonged to me but access belonged to her. I set it beside my new silver key in the ceramic dish and went back to the cancellation form. $4,800. Years of swallowing the charge because making an issue cost more. I clicked send. Claire confirmed receipt. My card was removed from the remaining event balance. The deposit was gone. Daniel called twice. Judith emailed that I had acted rashly and endangered an important family occasion. Frank sent no message. At 4:58 on Monday, something scraped in the front lock. The old key turned halfway, stopped against the new pins, and rattled again. I watched through the narrow window as Daniel pulled the key out, examined it, and tried again. Judith stood behind him holding an empty canvas tote. She said something I couldn't hear. Daniel shook the key as if the lock might recognize his frustration. I opened the door with the chain still fastened. What are you doing? He lowered the key. The green bead was gone, leaving a bare brass head darkened around the hole. Habit, he said. You haven't lived here for 6 months. I know that. Then it isn't a habit. Judith leaned toward the gap. We're here for the pickup window you insisted on. The garage is around the side. It's freezing, Mara. The garage has walls. Daniel held up the key. I was going to put this inside. You can hand it to me. He looked at it, then at the chain. Seriously? Yes. He slid the key through the gap. I took it and closed the door. By the time I reached the garage, Judith had already lifted it using the exterior keypad. I had changed that code too, so she stood beneath the closed door with her arms folded. "Are we moving furniture or robbing a bank?" she asked. "Neither. You're collecting labeled property during an agreed window." I entered the new code with my body blocking the keypad. The door rose on the rows of boxes and serving pieces. I had laid the printed inventory on a folding table, with spaces for initials beside each item. Judith stared at it. "You cannot be serious. You've said that 3 times this week. This is humiliating. It's an inventory of family belongings. Then it should be easy to confirm they're yours." Daniel walked past us to the silver bowl. The yellow sticker was still attached to its base. "You kept the stickers," he said. "Your mother put one on my grandfather's clock. They became memorable." Judith picked up the ceramic turkey. "This was Evelyn's." "I know. You hated it." "I still do." She held it against her coat like an injured bird. "Then why did you keep it?" "You put it in a box marked linens." "That isn't keeping it." "Correct. That's why you're taking it." Daniel crouched beside the roasting pans and compared them with the inventory. He initialed both without being asked. Judith watched him. "You don't have to indulge this." "I want to get it done. You always want to get unpleasant things done. Some things need to be addressed." I almost asked whether entering my bedroom had qualified, but I did not want to spend the next hour inside Judith's definition of addressed. I carried the first carton to Daniel's SUV. He took it from me before I could lift it into the back. "I've got it." "I know how boxes work." "I didn't say you didn't." He set it down more gently than necessary. When I returned, Judith was standing over the 2 file boxes from the studio. "What are these?" "Everything for the anniversary. You canceled the room. I canceled my contract. The planning still exists. What good is a floor plan for a room we no longer have? The vendor contacts and guest list are in the other folders. You've cost us thousands of dollars. I cost myself $4,800. You threw that away to make a point. I offered to transfer the contract on impossible terms." The impossible term was paying for your own party. Her mouth opened, but a car door shut in the driveway before she could answer. Frank came around the side of the house carrying a paper bag with handles. He wore an old wool coat I had seen at a dozen winter holidays. One cuff was frayed. Judith's shoulders tightened. "What are you doing here?" "Collecting my mother's things. Daniel is handling it. I can carry a box." He nodded to me, then looked around the garage. "Quite an operation." "Your wife likes stickers," I said. "I know, she put one on my desk once." "It was going to your office," Judith said. "My desk was already in my office." "It was the other office." Frank set the paper bag on the folding table. "I brought the green serving platter. Mara gave it to us, so it stays with us." Judith stared at him. "Why would you bring something here to take it home again?" "I wanted to make sure it wasn't mixed in." "It's in our dining room." "Then I brought the wrong platter." He looked inside the bag as if the platter might explain itself. Against my will, I laughed. Frank smiled, and even Daniel gave a short snort. Judith did not. "This entire situation has become ridiculous," she said. Frank's smile faded. "Some of it." He lifted the inventory. His eyes moved down the list, stopping at the necklace. I had included it in a separate section labeled "Disputed, Retained by Documented Owner." "Evelyn gave this to Mara," he said. Judith looked toward the driveway. Evelyn was ill. She knew what a necklace was. She expected it to remain connected to the family. It is connected to the person she gave it to. Judith's voice sharpened. "You heard what Daniel said. Mara surrendered the family items." Frank removed his glasses and cleaned them on his scarf. "I heard what Daniel said. Then I read what he wrote on the jeweler's form." Daniel stopped beside the SUV. "Dad, you signed Mara's name. I signed my own name. Under her account. I was going to reimburse her. Have you? Daniel looked at me. No, I said. He pulled out his phone. I'll do it now. Judith made an irritated motion. $400 is not the issue. $486.20, I said. Daniel typed. A payment notification appeared on my phone. There was no apology attached, but the amount was exact. Received, I said. Frank put his glasses back on. Good. Judith turned on him. You're siding with her because you're angry about the party. I'm angry because I learned about the party from the florist. It was supposed to be special. It was supposed to cost $12,000 less than it did. You told me to plan what I wanted. I assumed what you wanted had a number. It was our anniversary. It still is. Judith's face changed. What have you done? I reserved the back room at Marcello's. Daniel leaned against the SUV. Marcello's? They have chairs. It's an Italian restaurant, Judith said. Frank nodded. That was the attraction. For how many people? 14. There are 73 names on the guest list. There were. She stared at him as if he had announced their marriage would be celebrated in a bus station. Frank met her gaze. He was not triumphant. He looked scared, which made what he was doing feel more substantial. I'm not moving money from our retirement account for a room full of people I speak to twice a year, he said. I'm not asking Mara to keep paying, and I'm not having Sloane wear my mother's necklace so we can pretend all of this happened in the correct order. Daniel straightened. Leave Sloane out of it. She left herself out, Judith said bitterly. She isn't coming. Daniel's expression closed. Frank looked at him. Is that true? She needs some time. Judith gave a dry laugh. Apparently, everyone needs time except me. You had time, Frank said. You used it to plan gardenias. They would have transformed the entrance. There is no entrance now. There's a hostess stand. He picked up the silver bowl. Judith stood perfectly still, holding Evelyn's ceramic turkey against her camel coat. For the first time since I had known her, no one moved quickly to soften the moment for her. I felt the urge anyway. I could suggest Marcello's private room needed flowers. I could offer the table linens. I knew the manager there. I could probably negotiate a menu and move the quartet down to 2 musicians. The solutions lined up in my head, polished and ready. I let them pass. Judith looked at me. Maybe she saw one of them leave. I hope you're satisfied, she said. No. That answer surprised her. I lost money, I said. Sloane found out Daniel lied to her. Frank found out what his party cost. You found out my account has a limit. None of that is satisfying. Then why do it? Because stopping still matters when it feels bad. She looked down at the turkey. Frank took it from her and carried it toward his car. The loading went faster after that. Daniel initialed each line. Frank carried the lighter boxes. Judith corrected the way both men arranged things in the trunks until Frank handed her the green serving platter and asked her to hold it. She sat in his passenger seat with the platter on her knees. Before he closed her door, she looked toward me. Evelyn would not recognize this family. Frank followed her gaze. Maybe we didn't recognize it either. He shut the door. Daniel remained after they drove away. His SUV was packed except for one box of framed photographs on the folding table. He lifted it, then set it down again. Did you know they were spending that much? I asked. No. Did you ask? No. He stared into the garage. The empty shelves made the space look larger and less useful. I thought you had it covered, he said. I did. That isn't what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. He ran a hand over his hair. Sloane's staying with a friend. I said nothing. She thinks I used her to hurt you. Did you? No. The answer came too quickly, but then he tried again. I wanted things to move forward. Mom liked her. I thought if Sloane felt welcomed and Mom felt like the family was still intact, everyone would settle down. Including me? I thought you were done with us. I was done being married to you. What's the difference? I looked at him. He gave a tired, humorless laugh. That sounded terrible. It sounded honest. He sat on the edge of the open trunk. For a while, neither of us spoke. A neighbor's garage opened down the block. Somewhere nearby, a dog barked twice and stopped. I didn't think of the necklace as stealing, he said. You thought of it as something I wouldn't stop you from taking. His eyes dropped. That's worse, Daniel. I know. I waited for the rest of the sentence. There wasn't one. He rubbed his thumb against the edge of his phone. When you canceled the party, Mom called me about the caterer, the florist, the quartet, the invitations, the room, the wine, the valet company, and some lighting thing. Every one of them needed an answer. I kept thinking, why does Mara know all this? Because I did the work. I know that now. You knew then. His head came up. You watched me do it, I said. You watched me plan your mother's dinners, store her dishes, remember your father's medication schedule when we traveled, send gifts in both our names, keep your accounts active, and rearrange my work when your family needed a favor. You knew. You just thought it was permanent. He looked older sitting there, though not wiser exactly. Wisdom would have been convenient. What I saw was a man encountering the bill for a life he had mistaken for complimentary service. I thought that was what marriage was, he said. So did I. That's why it took me so long to understand what ours protected. He frowned slightly. When your mother crossed a line, you protected her from discomfort. When Sloane asked questions, you protected her from the truth. When you wanted something easy, you protected yourself from the cost. I was trying to keep the peace. You kept the people who disrupted it comfortable. He absorbed that without arguing. Then he looked toward the house. Can I ask you something? You can ask. Did you know you were leaving before I did? The question was so unlike the others that it took me a moment. No, I said. I knew I was unhappy. I kept thinking if I found the right words, you would finally understand. Then I understood that finding the words had become another job I was doing for both of us. He nodded once. I went to the folding table and handed him the last box. The brass key, I said. Was there another copy? No. Mom took off the bead because she said it caught on things. The key you have is the only one. I believed him. Not because Daniel had become trustworthy in the garage, but because he finally sounded embarrassed. He took the box. What will you do with the necklace? I don't know yet. Mom will keep asking. That's between you and your mother. He almost smiled. You make that sound simple. It gets simpler with practice. He loaded the box and closed the trunk. At the end of the driveway, he stopped. For what it's worth, Sloane said the necklace looked like you. I touched the base of my throat. That isn't why it's mine. I know. He got into the SUV and left. The anniversary dinner happened at Marcello's without me. I worked that evening directing a retirement reception in a hotel ballroom with stubborn loading dock doors and centerpieces that arrived 2 inches too tall. The lighting equipment was my old set. One lamp flickered during setup, and I fixed it with a cable I had labeled 3 years earlier. Frank sent a handwritten note afterward. It said the food was good, Judith had survived, and 14 chairs turned out to be enough. Sloane sent nothing else. Ruth reversed the repair charge after Daniel's reimbursement cleared, then helped me decide what to do with the necklace. I kept the tourmaline in its narrow gold frame, but I asked her bench jeweler to remove the small engraved backing. He set the tiny glass house into a plain gold tag with a hole at one end. I attached it to my studio key. The lost deposit kept hurting. I took smaller jobs, rented lighting when mine failed, and learned to include transfer clauses that did not depend on anyone's goodwill. Slowly, the studio stopped feeling like the room where I stored other people's celebrations. After my first event that paid enough to replace the lights, I carried the new cases upstairs by myself. It took 3 trips. On the last one, the silver key stuck in the commercial lock, and I lifted it slightly the way Luis had taught me. The little glass house turned beside my hand and caught the hallway light. Then the lock opened.